when it comes to finances, it's never really the main priority. You just need to be smart and you need to be aware and you need to have the ability to hold your own when things go wrong. Hustle culture is over for most people. For me, it's not. No is a complete sentence. Gold diggers go after yachts and diamonds, not a piece of steak.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another episode of Platinum Pussy with your host, Sarish Khan. I'm so excited about our conversation today. And if you didn't listen to episode 1, go back and listen to it because we break it down why the podcast is called Platinum Pussy and what that means to me. But every week we will talk about confidence and power and success and autonomy. And this week, I really want to focus on financial security. It's a topic that we don't discuss enough. And I want to just get into it with all of you guys and share some of my experience and sort of suggestions and things that have been on my mind. Before we get into that, though, I did mention that I had a bone to pick with Joe Rogan. So we're going to pick that bone today. Now, a few days ago, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and I've been listening to a lot more episodes just to kind of do some research and see what else is out there. I've heard good things about what he has to say, and I've enjoyed some of the talks he has about empowerment, working hard, and all of those great things. But last week, I was listening to an episode that he had with Brandon Epstein. I think it was sometime early in August. The episode was really about MMA and fighters and things that I was a little bit tuning out of. But there were some good nuggets of knowledge in there about how to stay fierce and how to train and be committed. And I'm all about that. Somewhere along the line, though, I think it was about 20 minutes in. Now I'm really kind of promoting the podcast because I do think you should go listen to it. But about 20 minutes in, Joe Rogan said something about some of these guys, when they feel like they need to go to a doctor or get help, they feel like they're being a pussy. And that's fine. I think he was trying to address the whole point where men don't want to ask for help or they think like going to the doctor is weakness. So I appreciated him kind of calling that out. However, Brandon Epstein, in his response, who is this like motivational coach, and he works with a lot of, I think, athletes or CEOs, and it's like mindset coaching. He said, you know what? I work with all sorts of guys, and some of them are pussies. And Joe Rogan responded, yeah, like, they're like all soft and sensitive and shit. It was something along those lines. I might be paraphrasing slightly. It just gave me the ick. And the reason it gave me the ick is because some of the guys I know will tell me that guys don't really use that word anymore. Like guys don't really throw around pussy anymore. It's just not a thing. Clearly it is still a thing. Okay. Like this is as of 2 weeks ago, and they're referring to pussy as it's something that's weak and sensitive. And here's the thing. I do think people who have vulvas have, varying emotions because we go through a 28-day hormonal cycle. And sometimes that means you are a little more sensitive, but it doesn't mean that you are weak. And if anything, that should be celebrated because that's where your intuition comes from. That's where like a lot of life choices come from. So I think my call to action, if he's even listening to this podcast, is use that term in a more powerful way. I would love a world where people see a person who is comfortable with their feelings, confident about what they want in life, and is not afraid to ask for help because that shows that they're strong. I would love for you to say, damn, bro, you're such a pussy. So that's it. I wanted to address that and get it out of the way because I promised I would. Now getting into our topic for today. So I want to talk about financial security and just financial education, and especially when it comes to women. I think I grew up in a household where I was taught how to handle my money and fend for myself, if you will. And that's because I grew up in a fully female household. My mom is a single parent and she had to be the provider, she had to be the nurturer, she kind of had to do it all. So the power of money was taught to me from a very young age. And I'm so thankful for that. I feel like many times it's sort of prioritized how you look and how you behave and sort of your soft skills when it comes to being a caretaker and being a homemaker, which are all really, really great qualities to have as a woman. However, when it comes to finances, it's never really the main priority. I think even though I had exposure to managing finances and having financial security and how important that is, it was never really broken down in detail from like just your credit score, building credit, your savings accounts, and just very baseline, basic things that I didn't really think about until I was much, much older and living on my own. So I want to get into this because especially culturally right now, there is a bit of a divide on hustle culture and the soft life, about being an independent, ambitious woman or being a trad wife. And I don't think it's a linear choice. It's not one or the other, but people will lean in one direction and that's okay. I didn't really grow up knowing how the bills were paid in the house. And I always saw my mom as a strong woman. And, you know, she was a career woman, but she was also at home being, you know, a typical mom, like cooking food and doing holiday things. And it wasn't until my very, very first job when I was 21, I got a job with the UN. It was with with USAID UN in partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I was working as a consultant. And for that job, I went overseas, which was so exciting because I hadn't been to Pakistan in so long. So I got to go to my motherland and make a difference and have impact. And in that role, we were really working with underprivileged communities on education and financial security. And while I was on the ground, we had a lot of site visits, whether it was going to the villages and talking to parents, talking to them about why they weren't putting their kids in school. Because the problem was the US and UK, which that organization is called DFID, US and UK was pumping a lot of money in international aid to put kids in school. But what they were noticing is a lot of children in rural areas, even though they were getting funding for them to go to school, they still were not putting their kids in school. And just like side note, this is how much finances will affect your life choices. And us as consultants, we were going in and not looking at the realities on the ground for these families. And when we started going into these rural areas and talking to parents, which was part of my job as an economist on that project, was a lot of times parents were saying that, fine, you're giving us the money and the funding for me to put my kid in school, but what you don't realize is my 13-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter are financially contributing to the household because they're actually going out and working on the farm. They're going out and working on the field, and they are a source of income. So if you are pulling them away and putting them in school, we are losing income. Coming from the outside, a lot of us just thought that people don't want their kids to be educated. And that was not the case at all. And especially with the girls and talking to the mothers, if anything, they really wanted to have their daughters in school, but they just did not have the finances or the ability to put them there. And I had a realization. There were so many women who were single mothers and single parents, and they were really just left to the devices of their husbands' families or their wealth or their brothers or any other man who could provide for them. And they did not have the freedom of choice. And in one of these visits, going and seeing these families, it was really eye-opening for me because I saw this mom who had 2 young daughters, and she had lost her husband very recently. And it kind of made me realize that I feel that if my mom didn't have the grit or the ambition to make something of herself, I very well could have been one of those kids. Because my father died when I was 5, and she was fortunate enough to have some level of education and have family support in being independent and finding a job and finding a career for herself. But I can't help but think if she had made any other choice, my life would not have ended up the way it did. And I would not have the luxury to sit here right now and be doing a podcast and going to law school and accomplishing all the things that I wanted to. So yeah, this is a really, really important topic for me. I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I am so goal-oriented. I am super focused on being successful, on securing a future for myself, on just fending for myself time and time again. So I want to talk about the differences between being a goal digger and being a gold digger, and how either choice is completely okay. I don't have any judgments, whichever way you choose to go. And frankly, you can be both and you can switch between both, but you just need to be smart and you need to be aware and you need to have the ability to hold your own when things go wrong, whether it's in your control, like a relationship not working out or a marriage not working out, or if it's something that's not in your control where your spouse passes away and you have never really been the person who's been in charge of the finances. So let's start with gold diggers. All my ladies who are hustlers out there. And yes, I'm saying hustlers. I know that word is kind of banned from society now. Like hustle culture is over for most people. For me, it's not. I love to work hard for my goals. I wouldn't say I work hard for money. I work hard for my goals, which in return do bring me money. So all of the women out there who have big goals and big dreams, my goal diggers, let's go. Let's get into it. First and foremost, the most important thing in your life is who you choose as your partner. And yes, you are choosing. You are making the biggest investment of your life by choosing to give your time and your life to somebody else. So I strongly believe that as a woman, it is important to choose a partner who is at least in your tax bracket. Yes, I said it, okay? The reason I think that is important is less because of women and more because of men. And if there is a man out there who wants to challenge me on this, I am so for it. Please slide into my DMs, come onto the podcast, and we will hash it out, because I would actually love to be proven wrong. But in my experience, I have found that when women are earning more than a man, at some point in the relationship, insecurity will seep in. And usually it's because the man doesn't feel respected, they don't feel powerful, and they feel less than. And this is something I've experienced in past relationships and tried to remedy it. And the only remedy that ever works is by you playing small, by you saying, no, I don't need to have that $500 steak and wine dinner. No, I don't need front row seats at a play at the Pantages. But the truth is, I need all those things. I want all those things, and I can pay for them if you can't. But that usually doesn't work because it also will make a man feel less than. So I don't think it is the woman's problem. I really do feel men start feeling very, very insecure when they can't pay for things, which is very interesting. We'll come back to the gold digger thing and men complaining about paying for dinners and paying for things. But in my experience, I do feel it lowers their sense of, masculinity. And I can't speak for why that is because I'm not a man, but that's what I felt and experienced time and time again. And I've heard this from multiple women. And do not, unless you're comfortable shrinking and being small, date in your tax bracket at the very minimum. So that's number one. Number two, you need to protect your time. Like, time is money. So don't just say yes to everything. Like, networking is great. Bitches at brunch is great. Going to people's birthday parties is awesome, but you have to protect your time because all the time you're taking and putting it into somebody else's project, somebody else's, event or whatever it is, it's taking away from your potential. It's taking away from your mental wellness, from your energy levels, and all of those things, like all of those wellness, time to yourself, what you're exposing your mind to, conversations you're around is going to feed into where your mind and your body is focused. And that eventually feeds into how wealthy you can become. So be selective with your circle, be selective with your time. Please say no to shit. It's okay. And you don't need to give an explanation. No is a complete sentence. So there's so many other things to talk about when it comes to people who are like super ambitious, want a lot for their lives. But those are kind of the two big things that I think we should just put out there. And listen, don't let anybody judge you for your ambitions. Just it's a no. Don't. The right person, the right partner, the right friends will support you. They will support you disappearing for a few months because you're working on your next big project. There is no shame in that. You're not a bad friend for focusing on yourself. If anything, you need to be selfish for a certain amount of time so you can be selfless, because most people who are ambitious and want to accomplish big things, they're not really just doing it for their own, well-being. They're doing it because they want to give back. Think of it in that way. Don't worry about the pettiness of people being mad at you because you can't show up to every single event. That's okay. The real people will be there in the end and they will celebrate with you. So that's my little rant for my gold diggers. And if you are a gold digger and you're a woman, will you please slide into my DMs? Because I do not have enough gold digger friends in Los Angeles. And I know you are out there. I know you're out there and you're just hiding under the skies of the soft life, which, okay, I've been having a little bit of FOMO about the soft life. So the other day I saw a reel and this really stunning woman was, waking up softly in bed and then making her matcha, going on a morning walk, brunching with her friends, and then getting ready for Pilates. And then she was coming home to a really nice dinner. And it just really pissed me off because I just felt like, why don't I deserve all of this? I am working so hard and this is not the life I have. I do take wellness breaks. I do take care of myself. I love my sound baths and massages and everything, but it's not my lifestyle because let's be real, you can't sound bath your way to $1 million. And I do want to make $1 million. I'm not ashamed of that. But I was hating so fucking hard because I'm like, why does she get to live this life? So I went and stalked her Instagram. I'm not going to say who this is. But anyway, I went and I stalked her Instagram and it's all full of these really 1920s century, romantic, lacy dresses and, the typical soft life stuff. And then I realized her husband is a freaking multi-millionaire producer, which is cool. But the point is, the soft life doesn't come for free. So unless you're a trust fund baby or you're married to a sugar daddy who can send you to Pilates on a Tuesday in a Range Rover, you have got to work for that life. And, that made me feel better about myself because frankly, I don't think I would be happy with that. I don't think if my whole personality was to live this very romantic trad wife life, like it's just not for me. I wouldn't feel proud of myself. And I want to be introduced as Sarish Khan, the lawyer, the entrepreneur, the podcaster, the whatever I choose to be in my life, rather than Sarish Khan, the wife of, or the girlfriend of. I want to be proud of my partner in their own right, and I want to be my own entity, and together we can build something amazing together. So I'm just saying all this to mention that do not be fooled by everything you see on social media and how perfect people's lives look, because at the end of the day, listen, they are working for it one way or another. They are working for it and they are paying the price. And I am not willing to pay that price. So gold digger till the end. But if you are in this gold digger trad wife category, first of all, let me just say, I feel like men will call a woman a gold digger because she expects him to pay for dinner. And it's like, honey, gold diggers go after yachts and diamonds, not a piece of steak. You don't even have any gold. So I don't know, unless you have a heart of gold, the only thing she's digging up is your dead ambitions and potential. So let's just set the record straight on that. If you are someone who wants to live a more traditional life, staying at home, taking care of the house, taking care of your partner, taking care of the kids, raising the kids, all of those things are super admirable. But at the same time, I want you to keep in mind your financial security. And here's the thing, women will get into a relationship or get into a marriage with a partner, with a man who is financially very strong. And, they feel like they're set for life and all I have to do is, cook, clean, do all of those things. But you are doing unpaid labor in the relationship. You are contributing to the relationship. By doing all those things, you are helping your partner succeed a lot more. So I want you to value yourself and know that you are an equal partner. You are still a 50-50 partner, because absent you adding all of that value, that person is going to have to find that in another way, and they're going to have to pay for it. So first, you should know your worth and don't feel like you are any less than. This is just the life decision and the life choice you're making. So that's number one. Number two, do you actually know your partner's finances? Like, do you actually have contractual obligations and documents in place if something is to go wrong, if something is to happen to your partner? Do you have a prenup? Like, there is this big misconception that prenups are for the wealthy, or they're only for the benefit for the higher earning spouse and generally the man. And that couldn't be far from the truth. And you should listen to me because I'm a lawyer, so there's my credibility there. But prenups are actually far more beneficial to women, especially women who are traditional stay-home wives, because it gives you exposure into exactly what your partner's net worth is, exactly where their assets are, and it lets you know where you are named and where you are not named. I interned at a family law practice when I was in law school, because when I first started law school, I thought I wanted to be a family lawyer and help women. especially when it came to like divorces and splitting of assets or child custody. That's really the reason I went to law school, but I ended up in corporate America because, again, I am a gold digger and I wanted the money. So in interning and clerking with this family law office, most of the time, like 90% of the time, women would be sitting in the office and they would be crying their eyes out because the vacation home that they thought was in their name was actually in their mother-in-law's name, or it was put into a trust for the benefit of their kids. I always struggled with whether I thought that was okay or not. And I'm talking about putting your assets and putting your money in a trust in favor of your kids where your spouse is, has the power to manage the trust. I kind of feel like it's saying you don't trust your spouse, you don't trust your partner by giving them all the finances and trusting them to take care of your children. You make of it whatever you want to, but I never really liked that. Regardless of the trust situation, a lot of times women were coming in, property was not in their name, the savings accounts were not in their name, and to make matters even worse, their own inheritance would be split. So you really, really need to get a handle of how the finances are split across the portfolio. And what I mean by that is you need to be aware if there's a will. You need to be aware if there's a trust in place. And the best way to do all of this is getting a prenup, because when you get a prenup, there is this thing that's called financial disclosures. So your attorney is going to ask your spouse for all of their financial disclosures. And yes, they could lie about it, I suppose, but that's where you want to ask for backup. You want to ask for documentation. Like, get clear. Please be smart. If you are investing in a person because you want the trad life or the soft life, make sure that's what you're getting. Because if this person is with you primarily because of your looks and because you're going to do unpaid labor in the home, and 10 years down the line, that's not what you want to do, or your looks are fading because we do age and we look different. And if that's all a man wanted from you and they want to trade you in for a new model, you're going to leave with nothing. I'm just trying to have your back. I support you in your choice, but be smart. Be smart about it. And that brings me to another legal topic that I want to bring up here. I think this is going to be for the benefit of men. I've realized a lot of people are not aware of this. And the reason I've realized it is because I dated a guy when I first moved to California, and I mentioned this to them. And of course, he ran as fast as he could because he was scared. And what I'm talking about is community property. So certain states in America, it's a handful, I think it's maybe 12. I don't have the list, but certain states in America are community property states. And California is one of those states, which is a bit shocking considering it's a pretty liberal state. But as of now, California is a community property state. And what that means is whatever you bought during the marriage, if you bought property, your investments, your retirement accounts, if you started a business, if you invested in a business, all of that wealth goes into community property. It's within the marriage. And whether your spouse is named on the deed, if your spouse is on the retirement fund or not, they get 50% of it by default. By default, they're getting 50% of it. They don't even have to know about it. So I'm a little afraid to give men this advice, but okay, I'm going to be fair because to be honest, I do feel like a lot of times men get screwed over as well. And they're choosing a partner who they think is loyal to them and faithful and loves them for their huge, big heart, and their intentions are something else. So men, I think you need to be super careful because you are living, especially if you're in California, you are living in a state where whatever you do during the marriage, your partner gets 50% of it, and you want to secure your assets as well. Again, the best way to do this is by doing a prenup, so it's all out on the table. I just think, I don't understand when people are so opposed to it, or they think it's cringe, or they think, if you're going to stay married forever, why do you need it? Because if anything, it's just putting everything out on the table. And it should already be out on the table if you're at a point where you're choosing to spend the rest of your life with this person, and you're going to have kids with this person. So just get it all out there. And if things don't work out, you don't have all this expensive, long, lengthy legal battles, and your kids are, being split between two parents. It just makes life a lot easier. So just, have open conversations about it. It's not something to be ashamed about. And it gives you a lot more direction in life. This has been, I think, a pretty heavy and serious episode in comparison to episode 1, where we were talking about sex and dicks getting hard and pussies getting wet. But this is what you can expect from Platinum Pussy. If you're looking for a podcast that's going to tell you how to suck and fuck, this is not the space. There's a lot of information out there. You can do it. I want you to be empowered. I want you to be empowered from the bedroom to the boardroom. Know your rights, advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself, and just be smart. I'm urging you to take a step back and really look at your life in a wholesome way. And when you're making a decision about spending the rest of your life with someone, I want you to be comfortable knowing what you're going to sacrifice, what you're willing to struggle, what areas of your life you're willing to let go of, and having a backup plan for yourself. Because the only backup plan in life is your strength, is your potential, your ability to take care of yourself. How do I end this on a happy note? I kind of want to end this on a happy note. I think you can always start small. Just make small steps towards your progress. So, I'm not a huge investment girly. Like, I don't invest much in the stock market. I have some investments out there, but honestly, I'm not your go-to person to tell you how to, split your assets and how to make money. I know what works for me, and that's what I stick by. But the two things that have really helped me in life is, one, having a financial planner. And you don't need to go with some really expensive, massive company. You can start as small as like the bank you bank with. The financial institutions you bank with have resources to help you kind of put money aside, look at your savings, look at your portfolio. So start there. But also, you can find mentors. I love mentors, are like my favorite thing in life. I think it is the key to success. And if you can afford it, I would push you to find a coach, but I know sometimes that can be expensive. So if that's not where you're at in life, find a mentor. And I will get asked, like, what's the best way to find a mentor? It's really going to be the people around you. It can be people in your family. It can be people in your workplace, friends, someone you met at the coffee shop. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually met a mentor at a coffee shop in New York. We were just chatting about, where you get the best coffee at the nearest bodega. And somehow we just weaved into what we do. And she ended up being one of my mentors when it came to women in the workplace. So I think go find mentors. Mentors will help you kind of guide you in the right direction. And it's an objective perspective from someone who doesn't really know your life in so much detail. Friends can also be mentors, but I feel like they have a bit of a biased view of your life, and they might be soft on you sometimes. So mentors, financial planning, starting with financial institutions, is easy steps to get a grip of, your life and being in control of your money and having power and having freedom. And a lot of this is educational, informational, and hopefully it makes you think about your life and your choices. And yeah, every episode is not going to be uppity and fun. And that's what it is, because I want to just be authentic with you guys. And a lot of times things that I see on social media are the things that I will talk about in the next episode. So that's where I'm at. I hope that this was useful to you. And if you have feedback, comments, as always, slide into my DMs, send me a note so we can chat about it. Until then, until next time, be platinum.